Aside from its pretty obvious influence on the maladies of the worldwide pandemic, the other key area that I believe Eris is massively shaking up, on a likewise worldwide scale, is the balance of power between men and women. The patriarchal rule needs a combination of Saturn and Pluto to maintain its dominance. With Saturn, you do it through long-term inertia. It's the way we've always done things and will continue to do them. And with Pluto, you give it a boost of ultra-male testosterone power, and you basically stop at nothing to get your way. Pluto was discovered almost exactly concurrent with the rise of fascism in the 1930s and the kind of philosophy that relied on might is right. Hitler, Mussolini, and the Empire of Japan typified this approach, and it took the rest of the world at the time to push back strongly in order to beat it back. But by the time the dust had settled, Stalin in Russia was representing Pluto through a communism that was really heavy-handed autocratic rule. All of this is the male dominance principle taken to the limit, and it has the Pluto stamp. We had to wait until 2005 before Eris was discovered, and all of a sudden, through the wisdom of astronomers, Pluto's very status as a planet was threatened when they realized Eris was its equal in size, but that there were even more of these moon-sized bodies floating around out there in the boonies. Their astronomical solution was to exclude instead of include, and so they threw them all out. Astrologically, however, that is not something you can do, and so Pluto remains a force pretty much forever, and I would say Eris is right there alongside because it was the one responsible for the conflict. Once Eris was assigned the name that links it to the goddess of discord, the sister of Mars, and the defender of women against men, you begin to realize that something big might be happening in the battle of the sexes. And Eris, in its advocacy for those previously left behind and discriminated against, seems to bring in the plight of LGBTQ members as well. Notice that 2004 was the last election in which Republicans used blatant discrimination against the gay agenda in the state of Ohio in order to win a very close national election. By 2008, it was generally accepted that civil unions were okay, and by 2012, I recall Fox News commentators criticizing Obama because he was now fully on the side of gay marriage. They said, he's only doing that because it's a popular view. And I thought to myself, wow, some things really change fast, don't they? This I believe to be the work of Eris in bringing those left behind into the foreground. You're not going to get much argument when you say that the LGBTQ community has been in the excluded background for almost all of history. Then, in 2016, the Me Too movement, another clear Eris connection, really struck a blow for women when first Gretchen Carlson took down Roger Ailes, and from there we saw big ego plutocrats like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein get sent to the slammer, where they richly belonged, on account of their filthy crimes against women. Hillary almost got elected in 2016, which would have been another enormous point on the scoreboard for Eris, but now in 2020 we have Kamala, which is another huge Eris development as well. Notice that by 2016 the position of Eris was already close enough to square the US Mercury and therefore strongly challenge the thinking of the country. But I'm guessing that since Mercury is a planet that rules two of the angles, it translated into important action as well. The irony is that Trump may have been better for the rise of women than Hillary would have been. Nothing like the emergency thinking this complete racist, misogynist idiot of a man caused in women, driving them to organize themselves both to vote him out and to seek public office. And I believe this is one of the major accomplishments that will be remembered forever about the Trump presidency. Not exactly what the Orange Menace and his plutocratic friends had in mind, but such is life. Sometimes you get the opposite of what you want through what I call the law of delicious unintended consequences. In the US chart, Pluto and Eris start out in Capricorn, but now Pluto is transiting through Capricorn going toward its return, while Eris is in Aries, where it will be for another 28 years. Since Eris is the sister of Mars, and she's a warrior, Aries, the primo war and military sign, is going to be quite comfortable for her. And so in a battle between Pluto and Eris, I give Eris the advantage. At minimum, she's going to make major progress in the war, at times big wins, and in other cases, steady progress toward equality, which honestly is very sorely needed both in the world and maybe even more urgently in the United States. It's time for women to take greater command of the ship. I think they'll do a better job than men. In fact, men's performance in governance has been so abysmal, It's hard to see how women could fail to do better.